Representing the business of boxing, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mr. Marty!
Thank you. You're far too kind. Thank you very much. The only thing I really had to say to, as far as, Crawford coming at the fans on Twitter and, coming at Boots and saying that Boots had 2 times to fight him and he basically didn't. I just want to say one comment on that. And I want people to hear me clearly because there's a timeline issue. Terence Crawford in November of 2022 on Instagram Live, if y'all recall, Instagram Live, November 2022, nearly a month and a week or 2 before he fought David Ebenezer. And he talked in third person, his words, not mine. And he said people were saying, why didn't you fight Boots? And that's what Terence Crawford said. And then Crawford said in response to people asking why didn't he fight Boots, he said their names never came up. He's talking about Ortiz and then, of course, Boots. Their names never came up. So he's saying that before November of 2022, Boots' name never came up. So when Crawford tweeted just yesterday, last night, that Boots basically ducked him twice and didn't fight him, well, it had to be after November of 2022. Because before November of 2022, the man's name never came up. And the first time we ever heard Boots' name come up in the same sentence with Crawford was in January when Blue Blood tried to take credit for matchmaking by calling Bozy, Boots' dad, on the phone and said, hey, BLK Prime is interested in Boots fighting Crawford on our platform. And then, of course, Bozy did the right thing and set BLK Prime representation up to talk to Steven Espinoza. Steven Espinoza concluded, which I did a video way before the interview of Steven dropped by YSM, and I said it the same thing that Steven Espinoza basically said is BLK Prime is not signed with Crawford. And Crawford is not signed with BLK Prime. They have no jurisdiction over Crawford. And so because they have no jurisdiction, they have no authority to demand that a fight between Boots and Crawford be placed on their platform unless Boots was signed to them. And of course, Boots was not signed to them. He was signed and had a deal with Showtime, which is the reason why Bozy recommended they talk to Espinoza in the first place. And Bozy came out in the interview and said that it sounded meaning the conversation and the train of thought through that conversation was that BLK Prime was trying to do something underhanded by making Boots and Bozy dishonor their agreement with Steven Espinoza and Showtime behind Steven's back and go over there to BLK Prime in an unethical method of dealing on their platform. So if Crawford is saying that Boots ducked him in January of 2023, which was literally 2 months after November 2022 of the IG Live, which was a month after the David Ebenezer fight, his timeline is completely off, and he even knows that is not true. Now, the second time that he claims that Boots ducked him, I don't know when the whole time Crawford said himself that he called Spence in January of 2023 to try to surge the negotiations for them to fight, which was the same month that he was over at De La Hoya's offices, right, where he was negotiating a deal to be signed to Golden Boy. That's Oscar's words in the interview, not mine. And then the next month in February, the WBO stepped in and basically told Crawford and Ish that that Alexis Rocha will be the WBO mandatory, and if they can't come to a negotiation and an agreement, that there's a purse bid. You know what I mean? Um, for Alexis Rocha to be that mandatory for the WBO. And then, of course, what happened 3 or 4 months later, we get the announcement that Crawford was fighting Spence in July. So I'm trying to figure out, when was the first time Boots ducked Crawford, and when was the second time he ducked Crawford? And so that's the issues that I keep having when I see people like Crawford fans misinform the public. And then, of course, now we see Crawford doing the same thing when it comes down to Jaron Boots Ennis. Okay. Band Up had a question. Excuse me. Band Up made a comment in the chat. Band Up says, Marty Blue, he's referring to Blue Blood. Marty Blue Blood said he asked about Boots after the fight. He asked about Boots after what fight, Band Up? What after what fight? I don't know if you're saying after David Evanesian's fight. What fight did Blue Blood ask about Boots? After what fight? I just need clarity from Band Up before we move on real quick, because I'm gonna let y'all go real quick because I know it was Friday night. Y'all have some things to do. Okay, right. So put that on the screen here, David. Okay, so Band Up said that Blue Blood said that he asked about Boots after the fight. Well, Band Up, that's what I just said. I just said that. That in January, after David Evanesian fought Crawford, Blue Blood called Bozy to see if they can somehow make a deal with Boots coming over to BLK Prime on their platform to fight Crawford. The problem with that is they didn't have no obligation to Crawford, and Crawford didn't have an obligation to them. So they couldn't really guarantee a Crawford fighting Boots. And how do we know this to be true, Band Up and everybody else? Because Crawford only signed a one-fight deal with BLK Prime. Oh, okay, got you. I thought, Band Up says, I know, I was agreeing with you on that one. Okay, great. Thanks, Band Up. Appreciate it. So, Crawford only signed a one-fight deal with BLK Prime. So if it was all about letting them fight Boots, why didn't BLK Prime secure a multi-fight deal with him like most promoters do? I'll wait. But Blue Blood said he's a matchmaker, right?